Now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show brings you famous celebrities and amazing people from all over the world. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. Also take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with a wonderful singer out of the Colorado area. He's part of the duo called Follow No One. And he's got a new release called Fear No Evil and began performing at the age of 13. And they're also winners of the world's largest music fest, indie music award show. And he's also teamed up with a gentleman from Portugal doing it, and Pedro Murino Almeida, and also talks about how they got together, talking about faith and also conservatism, and just a lot of meaning behind these songs as well too. You can access. And live from Colorado, without further ado, a little bit of Rocky Mountain High, ladies and gentlemen. So don't just follow anyone, follow no one, but you can follow the man himself behind the music, Rich Hall. Rich, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. So you're part of the duo called Follow No One, and you've got a new release called Fear No Evil, which is going to be coming out as well, too. You began performing at the age of 13, and you guys were winners of the world's largest indie music fest, and you also won the JMA for Best Rock Act of 2019, and you also got some music that also ties into your conservatism and also your Christian faith. And before we get into all that, tell us how I got started.
Well, are you asking me how I got started or how we as Follow No One got started? Both of them are great stories.
Well, you know what, though? Let's go ahead and start with you, then we'll proceed with Follow No One.
Sure, that sounds great, Mike. Well, I got, like you said earlier, I got going when I was about 13, and that was in the rock aspect and whatnot. But I started really about when I was 9 years old. I started working in theater a little bit. I had one of those, stage moms, and she kind of encouraged me, I guess you want to call it that nicely, to audition for a musical, and I was in a musical called Tom Sawyer, an old one. And from then, I kind of stayed active in theater. And then when I got into high school, I was a little young to go into high school. I was 13 and got asked to actually be in a band, and I was playing keyboards in a band when I was 13 years old, and I was on top of the world, and I loved it, and it just stuck with me, and I've been doing it ever since, off and on. And then right now, since Follow No One's really picked up, that's all I'm doing full time, so it's been great.
And how'd you guys form Follow No One?
Well, I was actually recording in a studio in Kansas City at the time, recording a solo project. And during the course of the sessions, if you will, we were getting down to the nuts and bolts of it. But the engineer ran off with the music. He just kind of disappeared. So I had to fight with the studio and get my music back. And while that was all going on, it was pretty frustrating because it'd been the first time I'd been back in the studio in a long time. And I guess, hey, man, God had something else in plan for me, like I like to believe, and I think it's because it's true. When God closes a door, sometimes it's so He can open a much bigger one for you to walk through.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, and He did. I heard from Pedro. Pedro actually found me on the internet. So,
oh, really?
Technology enabled us to come together. Yes, and he sent me an email, and we spoke after that, and he said he had a song that he was working on. Pedro does production. Not only is he fantastic, great guitar player, But Pedro's also he's classically trained in music, and he went to United Kingdom, University of the United Kingdom in Sheffield, and he got his music composition degree or something like that. And he was doing stuff for media and films and et cetera, but also doing kind of some of his own projects on the side. And he had this song and said it's called Guardian Angel, and he said, Rich, would you like to try to write the words for it and provide the vocals on it? And I said, sure. So I bumped it out of Kansas City and just went down to Nashville for about a week, and just kind of quasi vacation, if you want to, just because I just needed to change the scenery for a few days. And when I got down there, man, I listened to this, and I was really digging what Pedro's doing, and I worked a solid week on the song and got it done. And when we released the song, we were just surprised that there was we had some immediate fans, and it was kind of not a complete shock. It was a great song, but that's not really where we were going to go with what we were going to do together. But after that, I said, Pedro, man, I think we got something here, and we've been doing it ever since.
That is amazing too. And then Pedro found you on Facebook. So did he send you a friend request, or did you send him a friend request?
No, actually, it wasn't on Facebook. It was some site called Star Now.
Star Now, okay, similar to Facebook, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's more of an industry type of website. And they're not paying me, so I don't ever mention it, but I will. It's okay. But yeah, they do. It's geared towards people that are from all different types of entertainment, acting, whatnot, singing, models, you name it. Even down to radio people, and it's just a talent site, basically, and where people can connect. And that's how Pedro contacted me, and yeah, I'm glad I don't know why I even joined it to begin with. One of those emails you get and you just say, oh, maybe I'll sign up. I checked it out and did. Never thought anything else about it. Never even messed with it. And then all of a sudden here I get a message from somebody from Portugal. I'm like, wow. So I heard him play guitar and I was hooked, man.
Oh my goodness. I think God opened a door for you right there too. So you can't deny that sir. One. So,
absolutely. Those kind of things just don't happen. I don't think.
So. And of course, you see him talk about your faith a lot too, and also in a good portion of the songs as well too. Like you got a new album out, Guardian Angels, coming up, in Fear No Evil and More, Your Time of Dying. And how did you first come to Christ as well too? I'd like to hear about that, your testimony.
Well, I know people don't like to say it this way, but I can't remember anything else but being a Christian. So. It's almost like I was born that way. I didn't take much coaxing. It wasn't like I came to find Jesus. No, Jesus was just there. Of course, didn't really know a lot about that and whatnot, but I just knew what I felt. And, my mom got me in church when I was young, and quite honestly, the church I went to wasn't. I won't mention the denomination, but I didn't agree with half of what they taught, and this is when I was, at 9 years old, so I'm sitting there reading my Bible and hearing the preacher say something. So, I don't know. I had put a lot of time into studying and everything. I've been like that since I started. But Jesus is. I like to say it this way, Mike. Christianity is not a religion; it's a reality. And that's it.
and rightfully so. And feel free to talk about it. So, any references, feel free. I mean, this is basically you're in the spotlight. You say it's like you've been in spotlight everywhere, and it's like although it's a Mike Wagner show, I'm not running the show. It's basically you're in the spotlight, and feel free to mention all you want. I mean, it's just a great story as well too. So, just fantastic.
Well, I mean, they say the Lord works in mysterious ways, and He does. Like Pedro and I meeting, but. The more I'm not a youngster anymore. The more I've gone through life, yes, I'm surprised about a lot of things that happen, both positively, sometimes even negatively. But it's not so mysterious to me because I expect everything. I expect anything good can happen. When a lot of it you have to put the work in. I don't believe God just hands anybody anything. If you're willing to put the work in and it's something He's on board with, the sky's the limit. And He'll let you get as far as you can go within your range of comfort if you're on board with Him that way. Now, if you just go off on your own direction, who knows whether you got where you are? Was it His will or was it your own? I'd like to operate myself and my life within the confines of whatever I'm doing is within His will. And if he's happy, then I'm happy.
That is amazing, too. We'll talk about your new release and some of your work. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. Also, take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with singer Rich Hall of the duo Follow No One. He's got a new release, or they got a new release called Fear No Evil. He began performing at the age of 13 and also won quite a few awards as well, too. And first of all, let's talk about your new release, Fear No Evil.
Yeah, Fear No Evil, man. It's a slammer. It's probably the hardest song we've recorded. And you know, when you look at, like, you named some of the titles to our songs, Less Guardian Angel, Fear No Evil, Your Time of Dying, some of those types. They kind of have scary names, but you know, once you dig into the lyrics and what the songs are about and everything, you might be surprised. Sometimes not, because life's not necessarily it's not great and fun all the time. And I try to cover all aspects, that for whatever I'm on at the time, but I try to cover things that happen to me, and I'm not any different than anybody else in that regard. We all have the same problems in life, great things and things that happen to us, and et cetera. And I try to capture that a lot. But in some songs, like Fear No Evil, I don't know that the particular type of that song is really ever anybody's run up against. If they have, send me an email. But I started studying demonic possession a long, long time ago, and I got interested in that. And I'm not on the cheerleader side, I guess, but from the opposite side of the stamp of that. And that song, kind of led me. The song is not necessarily about that, but it kind of led me down that road. And the song itself is really about someone that was a priest or some in that type of role or something that had lost their faith, not due to the fact anything that was done to them by any higher power or higher source, but quite honestly because of the people around them who were supposed to be espousing those things. Really weren't living up to it, and they kind of lost it. And they ran across somebody that they knew that, they saw them going down the same path they were, and they were just hoping, that would not happen. So I don't know. The song's that's what the song is basically about, and a little bit more than that, but that's the gist of it. But it's an interesting song with some great guitar work, as always, from Pedro, and it's not necessarily typical of all of our songs, because if you listen to 5 of our songs in a row, they don't necessarily sound the same, but they've all got one thing in common. Hopefully good vocals for the people that listen. Great musicianship.
Mm-hmm. And also,
we're well thought. We try to be well thought out. We're not, just, I don't know. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead what you're saying too. And I also got a couple of songs out there too, but go ahead what you're saying though.
Right on. Music. There's never been more music available than there is now on the planet. I mean, just because of technology and et cetera and so on. And rock and roll's been around a long time. And from a genre standpoint, it's not necessarily the most popular. But I will say, rock fans are some of the most loyal and hardcore fans there are. In a way that they're not necessarily fickle. If they're your fan, they stick with you, and you can't necessarily say that about some other genres, but that's one of the things I enjoy about rock so much. And our songs hopefully draw from enough different type of styles that people have heard and liked, and it's not done intentionally. It's just who we are, that we can attract, from people that have been around listening to it since, whenever, from the days of Aerosmith and the early days, late 60s, 70s, all the way through people now. That we have some younger fans. One of our strongest demos, believe it or not, is 18 to 24, which is very, very, very odd for for rock music these days. But hey, we're glad to be here.
It sounds like you're happy to be here. And how would you describe your sound?
Our sound's something that's. People always ask me, who do you guys sound like? I just say, you know what, we sound like us. Mm-hmm. Because you'll hear some elements from maybe some different artists that remind you of, but there's quite a bit of contrast in our song, because my song, we're not the kind of, we're not a heavy metal band per se, although, the sounds of the guitars are pretty heavy and so on, but we have quite a different contrast between the music sometimes and the vocals. I'm not one of those people that, screams, but you have that, and not taken away from the people that do, there's a big fan base for that and et cetera. But, there's quite a different contrast between my vocal style and the music, which I think makes us something unique. And it's not for everybody, just like no other style is, but for the people that like that, it's kind of like, we don't necessarily sound like that, but the kind of same contrast you hear in Rainbow, for example, with, Joe Lynn Turner or even Ronnie James Dio singing in that band, where maybe some of the stuff was pretty hard on the music end of it, but the vocals come out, like on Fear and No Evil, for example. Somebody said some of my vocal styling sound a little operatic. Well, that's probably for my formal training and et cetera, coming up the way I did and performing and et cetera. And I hope it gives us something unique that people really dig.
Mm-hmm. So. And also, who are some of your favorite artists growing up as well too back in the day?
Who was my favorite artist?
Who are your favorites and influences growing up? Geez. Yes, in music.
Oh man, same as a lot of people, but then maybe some bands you haven't heard of. My dad had one of the greatest record collections ever. It wasn't a big one, but the albums he did have in there just touched a wide spectrum of music. Everything from Hendrix to Beatles, Abbey Road he had there, and I mean even down to Black Sabbath and some of the older heavy metal bands that kind of got me in the metal end of it. Mm-hmm. And then you contrast that with Billy Joel, and then some jazz and all kinds of different types. I just love different types of music. The bands that when I was coming up, I came up in the 80s, I guess late 80s was when I was hitting my stride there, and musically at that time there wasn't a whole lot of parody. You had the metal scene going on that was the hair bands, which I loved a lot of them, but there wasn't as a lot of parody there. So a lot of them kind of just, I don't know, kind of fell to the wayside for me. But some of the ones that I stuck with were probably the artists that were making up those bands that I liked, listened to the older stuff anyway. And one of my favorite bands of all time, without a doubt, is Damn Yankees. And those guys, that's Ted Nugent and the guy from Night Ranger, Jack Blades, and Tommy Shaw with Styx. Mm-hmm. And I've seen those guys, I think, like 4 times. I'm a fan, too. People don't forget that, as artists, we're also fans as well. And I'm glad you asked that because, Damn Yankees was one of the best concerts I've been to. Billy Joel. I love Billy Joel, Guns N' Roses, those types of people. I know that's kind of a mix, but, musically, if I dig it, I like it. I don't really care what the style or genre is necessarily. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily matter. But yeah, those are some big ones, and I don't know. There's too many to name, really, Mike. Blue Murder. There's one I love. You probably never heard of them. Mm-hmm. So
that's amazing too. You talk about Ted Nugent as well too, and of course, there are some people that don't know about Ted Nugent, that he's more of a conservative, and he's also a gun rights activist, and he goes out and hunts. And he's got a book called, what was it, Kill It and Grill It, and he's part of that NRA movement, which basically just ties into the conservative movement, which I have to say is like it's either trying to keep it going or try to get it going again as well.
Sure, yeah, the thing about artists, typically you'll find a lot, except maybe country might be the exception, but most genres you're going to find that your artists are typically a little bit more, I guess, left-leaning than they are right-leaning, I would say. And Ted, I mean, he's an unabashed conservative. There's no doubt where Ted stands on issues. And, I pretty much go the same way, but saying what's conservative now, versus, conservative now is the Democratic Party 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that people went more to the right more than then that whole party and that movement has went to the left quite a bit, because there's people supporting things on both sides that I just shake my head and scratch my head and say, okay, man, I remember this guy from 10 years ago. He was just the opposite. So that's the politics today. I'll be honest with you, Mike, I think like so many other things that have ran their course in human history, I don't know where the political scene in this country is going, but it's not a very good one right now. In my estimation, although it should be a great one, because you know what? Overall, the country's doing pretty darn good. I mean, people are working, and usually when people are working and have some money in their pockets and aren't afraid of, getting their house taken or having the opportunity to get a new house, or, some of those things that we work for as American citizens, you think that people be happy. And I think a lot of people are. I think the people that are just are a lot louder than the people that are, and maybe that's the way it always is.
It seems to go either way. You talk about your Christian faith in your music as well, too. Do you also include that in your conservative as well, too, or do you have any songs that are conservative?
No, one thing I do, Mike, I have my own beliefs, and perhaps maybe unknowing. I don't think that you can be anything, and if you're being honest, that it doesn't show through in your work. I don't care what kind of work it is, really. Even if this is more direct because I can say whatever I want to. My music is about life, and I think or events, and some of them maybe even stories. To me, that's much more interesting than politics will ever be. And maybe if something happens to fit that conservative side of things, which I don't know why it wouldn't, sure, so be it. But am I going to write a protest song or an anthem? If the president asked me to write a song, yeah, I would do it. But other than that, and that's one of the things we're trying to do is get our name in there. And I don't see why we shouldn't be on that stage to play for the 2020 inauguration. I need to just get to the right people. In that case, I'm an American. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat when it comes to things like that.
And of course, we got one of your songs that talks about that, and many others. We'll get to that. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. Also take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device, and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with Rich Hall of the part of the duo Follow No One. He's a Colorado native. He's got a new release called Fear New Evil. Began performing at the age of 13. He also won the JMA for Best Rock Act 2019, Your Time of Dying, and let's talk about that one.
Oh yeah, that's a great song, man. It's the first song I moved to Colorado. I've been here about a year, I guess. I was here a year in July. And actually, that was the very first song I wrote after I got out here. So, the song itself.
Your Time of Dying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was just kind of pontificating, but I forget people can't see me, and I'm on radio.
hey, it's okay. You can go and pontificate, so it's okay. Go ahead.
Just mentally speaking, that song actually. When you asked us about sound-wise, if you listen to that song, I would say that song probably captures our sound better. It's an amalgamation of all the songs that came before it. And you can kind of, if you start listening from track one to on down the line, you start to hear where our sound just started coming together over time. And Your Time of Dying, I think, probably just kind of hit it for us. And we'll obviously, based on the types of music we write, it will diverge a little bit from that. But that's probably closer to where our heart and soul is sound wise than anything else I can think of. And it's just all around. It was a good song for us. The fans really liked it, and it got our foot into the door for that award show. So yeah, it's a really, really groovy track.
That was amazing. And just another question before we get to some of your music. What was a big influence? How you went from Kentucky over to Colorado? I think I forgot to ask you that.
Man, well, I mean, Mike, we don't have enough time to go through all that, but
no, it's okay. It's just a little brief. That's all. So,
yeah, no, I was in the military, and when I got out of the military, and the reason I was thinking you were talking about Ted Nugent last segment, and I got the chance to meet him for the first time when I was in the Army, and they were nice enough to come play a show for us for free. And I was just like, man, and I got to meet him. I was like, man, that's cool. If I ever make it out of here alive, I'm gonna maybe go back to doing that thing. And yeah, I ended up going over to Saudi Arabia for a year, and just that area, and got back, and that's Kentucky was where my dad was living when I got out of the Army. So I went back there and was there for a while. My dad passed away from exposure to Agent Orange.
Oh, so sorry.
2 years ago, he was in Vietnam, and after my dad passed, Kentucky just didn't feel like home anymore. And Colorado is someplace that I'd been a few times, and I loved it. I always felt like I was, I don't know. I just felt like I belonged in Colorado. So when that happened, I decided to move out here, and I don't know. I haven't looked back. I love it.
It sounds like a huge blessing in disguise as well, too. And we'll talk about a single from your upcoming new album, Bring Me Peace. You can just tell us a little bit about that.
Bring Me Peace is actually, it's a unique track, man. When I got it from Pedro, it starts out, a little mellower. If you hear it versus Fear No Evil, it's like night and day.
Wow.
Because Fear No Evil is just rocking right out of the box. And this one kind of eases into it, and is from a stylistic standpoint. Actually, Pedro works in a lot of classical guitar, like Yngwie Malmsteen type. I would say probably the closest style I can think of that people might recognize. But Bring Me Peace is just as far as songs go, it is a very positive and uplifting song, and the workings between the vocals and the guitar and part of the song is just it works so well. I just can't wait for people to hear it.
That is amazing.
It's hard to put it into words, Mike. Sometimes that's what I'm supposed to be able to. I'm a lyricist. I'm supposed to be able to put everything into words so grandly. But in this case, now it just works. And you know what I mean by that.
It's particularly okay. It gives you a lot of peace as well, too. And God bless you for that. There's also some other songs you got called The Reflection, The Greatest Sin, No Regrets, I'm Afraid of Americans, and your title track 5 as well, too. And you can tell us about some of those songs.
Well, here's how a departure, from, I guess, if you will, like just real life stuff, and maybe this is real life for somebody else, not me. But the song, for example, 5, that was the title track of our EP. Pretty good song. It's about a hitman, and it's basically told. The story's told basically through the eyes of someone, and that's their job. Unfortunately, I guess that's their job. Their job is to deal with people that need to be dealt with, I guess you could say, and. That's where that song goes, and that's probably from our first EP. That song, "Reflection," was another great song for us. It was probably our first song that really hit pretty well on radio, and the most popular song, we recently polled our fans. The most popular song off that first EP was "The Greatest Sin," and the Greatest Sin is a good example of what I was talking about earlier about styles going different. Our songs going in different directions stylistically, because The Greatest Sin sounds like something you could pull, at least part of it. The chorus sounds like something you could pull right out of 1988, and mix it, so that's one of the things I try to do. It's not necessarily intentional. It's just a reflection of who I am. That is hit. My favorite times of music and my favorite, eras of music, and capturing whatever I can from there that is reflective of me, and putting it out there for people to listen to, because you know what? They were around then too, and some people have never heard it. That's one thing you always have to remember as a musician, Yeah, man, there's a lot of people have heard this and heard that, but you know what? There's always new people coming up, and you may be the first time they ever really hear that type of style. So, that part of it is just fantastic. And I'm Afraid of Americans. That song that's a David Bowie song.
Oh, really?
And yeah, that was a big hit for Mr. Bowie, and we were fortunate enough to be able to do that song. And that was kind of in between our release of 5 and our new album, on our new singles. We haven't announced any album per se. We've been releasing singles, and we're going to do that for a little bit, and then I'll announce at some point coming up, new albums and et cetera and whatnot. But I'm Afraid of Americans, kind of that. You hear that one that led to Your Time of Dying and on and on and on, and I think that's where we're going with our sound.
Wow, that's amazing too. And any plans of an upcoming tour?
Tours are something that I'd love to be on tour, year round almost, if it were up to me. Unfortunately, just the way the business is and the way the things are. Pedro is in Portugal, and we can get together. If there's a large event or shows to do stuff like that. Pedro's flown over here before, but as far as tours go, we're probably going to work with perhaps some band that is wanting somebody to go on tour with them. That would be something that we'd probably do. Or, you never know. I mean, things change all the time, and I've got irons in the fire everywhere, always, Mike. So don't be surprised if you hear the announce of one, I would say.
That sounds great, and keep us up to date on that one, too. And what's your most memorable moment?
Oh, Lord. Well, I mean, since it's so fresh on my mind, probably is winning the award, because I knew we were good enough to be there. I mean, we wouldn't have been nominated if we weren't. The people that run the JMA Awards, I mean, it's a top-notch organization and very, very, very professional. And we were up against some stiff competition. I think there was like 14 other nominees.
Wow.
I was very, very surprised that we won, quite honestly, in that regard. But it's one of those things you're surprised, but you're not completely. Just surprised that we made our way through all the other noise, pardon the pun, because I don't mean it that way, but, to be heard and for them to recognize that song it's just really great. And it's opened up opportunities just like that. That's one of the reasons I'm talking to you right now. So, that's been great with it.
That is amazing, and glad to have you on as well, too. Would love to have you back on again soon. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career, Rich?
Musically?
It can be anything. Music, overall, whatever. So it's up to you.
I would. You know what, man? I never leave God out of the equation. That goes without saying. Mm-hmm. I have to say, Dr. Ray Barnett, because he's also a great guitar player. He lives in Minnesota, and he decided that he wanted to do something more sensible with his life, or something that he could count on maybe a little bit more, and he decided to be an electrical engineer. Mm-hmm. And I think he made a good choice, because he's written 4 or 5 books, and he works for Texas Instruments now. But Ray's the one that asked me to be in my first band, man. And he was incredible guitar player, drummer, just very intelligent man, and he was a very, very good role model for me. At that age, being in that scene, things could have went a lot of different directions for me, in the wrong direction, if you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And Ray was there, and I could say, "Hey, Mom, I'm gonna go to the moon with Ray. As long as Ray's in there, sure, honey." Because he knew that. You know what? When I went out and played the clubs or did whatever I did with him around, and just learning from him, he kept me out of trouble. He served as a good role model. He was, Ray was. I don't want to compare him to Pedro, but our working relationship was a lot similar to what me and Pedro have in regards of our collaboration and whatnot. Because Pedro, Ray was just a amazing musician, and as a matter of fact, he listens to every new single that comes out and gives me his critique on it, and they're mostly positive. So I still look at him like he's my dad or something when it comes to stuff like that, even though he's not that much older than me. Sorry.
Very nice. I can get some as well, too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Well, my best advice to give you, I'll start with just musicians, period. And you know what? I'm going to say this. This will apply just to anybody. And that is, I don't really care where you are in your life, what point you are in your life, and how bad things seem. Because no matter how you set the plate for yourself, you can make all the great, best decisions. There are still going to be some things that happen to you that just, they will test you as a person, test the mettle of you. And sometimes that's what God does. He will test your mettle. He did that with Moses. Mm-hmm. He did it with everybody that was important to him. So when you have some of those struggles and some of those things, don't you lose your faith, because the only time the possibility of things cease to get better is when you decide that's the case. Mm-hmm. When you decide to give up, yeah, it's over. But if you know, from my point of view, 5 years ago, approximately, about a month from now, 5 years ago, I was laying in a hospital and almost bled to death.
Oh my!
It took me a year. It took me a year to get to do things like walk again, play music, play piano, play guitar, sing. You know, even remember just basic things. Mm-hmm. And when I look back at that, there's one thing I never did. I felt bad for myself, just like anybody else would. Sometimes got down and etc. But I never gave up, mm-hmm. and I never lost faith. I didn't understand things, but sometimes it's not our business to understand things. Because if we did understand them, we would think things are so hopeless that there's no possible way we could ever get there. So sometimes that's a good thing. And I just kept plugging along. And when you do, as long as you're above ground and as long as you're doing things, working it, good things can happen. They're not going to happen once you stop. And that's really, don't give up on, that sounds so cliched. I'm not going to say don't give up on your dreams, but don't give up on your dreams. Mm-hmm. See,
And I think what you said makes sense as well, too, and pretty much in a nutshell. And Rich, just want to say a big thank you for your time. Love to have you back on soon. You've been fantastic. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? And how can they get a hold of your music? Follow No One.
Yeah, brand new single coming up is on October 30th, Bring Me Peace. It's going to be a great one. We hope you all get a chance to check it out. Website, follownoOnemusic.com, and from there you can find all of our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, you name it, and also as far as music goes, just Google us, Follow No One. You'll find everywhere we are. We're on every streaming platform on the planet, just about, and maybe some ones that we haven't even heard about.
That is amazing. And Rich, just want to say a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Rich Hall of the duo Follow No One. Thank you very much for your time. You've been great. God bless you. And do us a favor, keep us up to date. We'd love to have you back on again soon.
I sure will, Mike. God bless you too, brother.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. Also, become a sponsor of the program or donate today at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of The Mike Wagner Show.